Now, from Nebraska's trusted news source, this is Channel 8 News at 5.
Coming up tonight, controversial sex education standards. Another step was taken toward passing them today.
Plus, Russian troops continue to shell a nuclear power plant. We're going to have the latest details on the invasion.
But first tonight, more controversy surrounding the Lincoln Police Department. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. The Lincoln Police Department releasing a lengthy statement regarding recent personnel decisions.
The police chief saying they terminated an employee who had been employed as a police officer. Channel 8's Andrew Ward explains how this could be connected to recent allegations of sexual misconduct within the department.
More controversy surrounding the Lincoln Police Department. Late Thursday, Police Chief Teresa Ewens responding to the latest allegations that an officer was fired for speaking out over sexual misconduct within the department. This comes after Channel 8 and other media outlets directly asked an LPD spokesperson if Officer Sarah Khalil was still with the department. In a Facebook post, Ewens reacted to those rumors, saying nothing could be further from the truth. Ewens did confirm one officer was recently fired for providing false information in a workers' compensation claim multiple times, violating department policy. She did not identify the officer she was referring to because she says it's a personnel matter. This comes days after the city of Lincoln announced it is conducting an independent assessment of the department. 21st Century Policing Solutions is conducting the assessment. Employees can anonymously complete the survey. Mayor Larry Gaylor-Bair saying in a press release on Wednesday, an essential part of ensuring that LPD continues to be successful in accomplishing its mission is thoroughly responding to concerns and maintaining a culture of excellence free from discrimination and harassment. Meanwhile, the city remains in a legal battle with former LPD and Public Information Officer Erin Spilker. She claims she was sexually assaulted twice by two fellow officers. Spilker is the third female officer to sue the city for sexual misconduct in the last 2 years, joining Sarah Williams and Melissa Ripley. Williams settled with the city in December, delivering an emotional testimony at a city council meeting with Spilker sitting behind her.
Some days I didn't want to be alive anymore. So I quit. I quit because I didn't feel like I had a choice.
Chief Ewens writing Thursday she believes LPD is veering away from its dark past. I will always encourage anyone who might be aware of potential misconduct to bring it to light, whether they be an employee or a member of the public. Reporting in Lincoln, Andrew Ward, Channel 8 News.
All right, thank you so much, Andrew. It has been a hot topic, no doubt. Should Nebraska approve sex ed standards? It would, in part, teach kids about gender identity.
Today, the Nebraska State Board of Education made steps toward adopting those standards. Tonight, we hear from both sides about this vote. Channel 8's Ariana Martinez explains what passing this motion means moving forward. Ariana?
These standards are not a done deal just yet, but this morning the State Board of Education passed a special motion on a 6-to-1 vote. They're having a HAWC committee draft all area standards, which will then be voted on by the Board of Education. Kirk Penner was the only board member who voted against this motion.
I'm interested to see, as those go to that committee and come back on the compromise, let's see if those health standards come back with some compromises here. Let's see if they come back with the same topics that has cost this board the trust and credibility of the citizens of the state of Nebraska.
Compromise was brought up a lot during this month's meeting. One idea was even shared by a parent during public comment.
I have a compromise suggestion for you. Take out the tiny part of these proposed standards that is based on political ideologies that confuse children about their identity and sexuality, and keep the vast majority of the standards that are academic and scientific and healthy in content. Would we accept them then?
The board heard public comment from a few supporters of the standards for the first time in a few months.
We should adopt the health education standards. The main reason for opposition to these standards is that they acknowledge the existence of queer people. You can't protect Nebraska children without protecting the several thousand transgender children and teens who are in Nebraska schools today.
Kirk Penner expressed that when it comes time to vote for these standards, he typically is the only one who has differing views from the other 7 board members. He has worries about these standards changing Title IX sports, among other things.
I believe that's where the board wants to go, 7 of you, not me. That's my opinion. I don't want to go down the road where we're destroying and not protecting our granddaughters and daughters and sons. That's where I'm at. Somebody's got to say it. I just happen to be the guy.
Board member Deborah Neary said Nebraska is one of only 2 states that doesn't have health education standards. She feels it is the board's moral obligation to protect all children.
Make an effort to understand the needs of all of the children in our schools across Nebraska. And there's a lot to that that is being left out of the conversation when we're just talking about your children and grandchildren.
The ad hoc committee will now move forward with drafting up standards, which will then be voted on by the Department of Education. There was no timeline given at this moment. However, the next meeting with public comment will be Friday, April 8th.
Ariana Martinez with that story for us tonight. Thank you very much, Ariana. And also at that meeting today, they talked about expanding a program that teaches kids about food grown right here in Nebraska.
It's called Nebraska Thursdays, and schools that participate serve a school lunch on the first Thursday of each month, entirely made of food from local farms, greenhouses, and gardens.
So the kids are learning about the product, they're also tasting the product, they're growing their palate and their interest in these local foods. And they're learning that they're available in our state and then taking that home with them so that it's actually also having an impact on their families and a deeper impact on their communities. Really celebrating what we have in Nebraska in our local communities, growing that food and the schools being savvy and committed and interested in sourcing that local ingredient from local producers.
Right now, Nebraska Thursday meals are being served to kids in 3rd to 12th grades, but the new expansion would include kids from kindergarten to 2nd grade as well. One other interesting note, some schools even grow the products right there on their school grounds.
Big changes are happening today when it concerns our weather. Let's talk to John for the very latest.
Yeah, if you guys haven't stepped outside here in the last couple hours since we got to work this afternoon, you may notice a difference in the air that's outside. Noon today, we're still sitting in the 50s, but finally a warm front lifted through the area by about 2 o'clock, at least in the Lincoln area. And now we're sitting in the 70s, and it's starting to feel even, you can notice some humidity outside as dew points have climbed into the 40s. You can see the front is just to the north of Lincoln at this point, north of I-80. Radar is trying to show there is some rain, and what I'll tell you how this is working is the Omaha radar is scanning to the southwest, about 5,000 to 6,000 feet above the ground, and the radar that's just south of Hastings is scanning to the east-northeast, and it's scanning about 5,000 feet above the ground. That's where it's seeing precipitation. I've not found any reports, and I've checked out some of our cameras, and I've stuck my head outside a few times also to see if we've got raindrops falling, and I'm not seeing that just yet. But this is all moving off to the north and east. It's not out of the question we could see a few raindrops beginning to fall. Temperature-wise, compared to 24 hours ago, we're upwards of 15 to 25 degrees warmer. So it's 72 right now in Lincoln. It's 70 degrees in Friend, 70 in Beatrice, and 70 in Hebron. Now, as we go through the rest of this evening, it's going to stay mild. 70 degrees by 6, 64 by 8. Look at this, still 60 degrees by 10 o'clock tonight. We're not cooling off very much tonight, at least in Lincoln. And a wild ride in temperatures coming our way for tomorrow that includes a chance for some snow for some and a chance for thunderstorms for others. We'll talk all about that coming up in my Storm Alert Team forecast.
Sounds exciting. All right, thank you, John. To international news now, Russia is upping the ante in its attacks against Ukraine. According to Ukrainian officials, Russian troops have taken over a nuclear power plant after overnight shelling.
A senior defense official says the U.S. is, quote, deeply concerned about Russia's intentions. Isabel Rosales reports on Washington's response and the outrage from NATO.
Worldwide alarm as Russian forces attacked Europe's largest nuclear plant on Thursday, according to Ukrainian nuclear officials.
The world narrowly averted a nuclear catastrophe last night.
A fire at a nearby building has been extinguished, and there doesn't appear to be any radioactive leakage. The facility remains under Russian control, with plant managers working at gunpoint.
The Kremlin should immediately cease all attacks around Ukrainian nuclear facilities and allow civilian personnel to do their work to ensure the facility's safety.
This new video shows the aftermath of a Russian strike to an apartment building north of the capital city of Kyiv. To the southeast in Mariupol, no water, no power after Russian attacks. Ukrainians in Odessa form a human chain, filling up sandbags to protect their city. Meanwhile, the head of NATO accusing Russia of using widely banned cluster bombs.
what we see is heinous. It's a brutality. It's killing of civilians we haven't seen since the Second World War in Europe.
At home, the Biden administration is disputing criticism from lawmakers that it's not sharing battlefield intelligence fast enough. U.S. officials insist they are sharing intelligence with Ukraine at a frenetic pace.
We have been providing a historic amount of security assistance.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
And Russia denies it started the fire at the Ukrainian nuclear plant.
Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin told Germany's leader he has agreed to a third round of talks between Russia and Ukraine. Still to come on the news tonight, shocking surveillance video shows an Indiana high school teacher slapping a student.
That story after the break.
Now to Indiana, where a longtime celebrated high school teacher is under arrest after officials say he slapped a student in the face.
The disturbing incident caught on camera, sparking outrage in some, but others are coming to the teacher's defense. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
Shocking surveillance video shows an Indiana high school teacher approaching a student, appearing to reprimand him, then slapping him so hard his head slams into the wall. Seconds later, the student collapses. Officials say the boy needed immediate medical treatment. Authorities say the teacher, 61-year-old Michael Hosinski of Jimtown High School in Elkhart, stopped that student for wearing a hoodie to class last week. Hosinski was arrested on the preliminary charge of battery and fired after 4 decades on the job. A school board meeting held in response to the incident, some filled with outrage, including a man who identified himself as the student's father, yelling at board members, saying a grown man smacked my son. But some are coming to Hosinski's defense.
That's a friend of mine, and for something like that to happen, there had to have been something that was going on that would have caused that person to just snap.
A group of students staging a walkout earlier this week in support of the veteran educator who was named Teacher of the Year in 2020.
Administration has not only failed the students, but our Jimtown High School staff. I've never been more embarrassed to be a Jimtown Jimmy.
The Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office is now investigating the case, and formal charges against Chosinski could come within a few days. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Now, your Storm Alert Team forecast with Chief Meteorologist John Dessauer.
The big impact to our weather today is this warm front that has lifted to the north of I-80. It took a while. It was kind of a cool morning with temperatures only in the 50s. We were still at 50 degrees in Lincoln as of noon. But then once the front passed, we saw our temperatures jump 10 degrees within an hour, and we've been rising ever since. Now, south of there, we've got a lot of moisture in the air. Starting to actually notice the humidity outside, so it's not so dry like it typically is in winter. And radars are picking up on some rain showers south of there. Now, the problem is these radars are scanning at about 4,000 feet above the ground, and plus the radars are in their super sensitive clear air mode. So a lot of this is not reaching the ground, I think. I've been checking our cameras, and I'll show those to you as well right here. Down in Beatrice, not seeing any rain falling. I've also seen no reports of any raindrops or any rain falling out of those little areas of green on the radar. This is why we like having our cameras, because we can show you real time with eyes of what's going on. And this is now on the southwest side of Lincoln from Honda of Lincoln, and you can see nothing really falling out of the sky. Now it looks like in the clouds we could see it falling, and there likely is some moisture. If you went a few thousand feet up into the air, you'd have some rain falling on the windshield of the airplane flying through, but it's not reaching the ground just yet. Winds are gusting out of the south at times 15 to as much as 35 miles per hour. That's because of the front that passed through, or the warm front. North of the front, up towards Columbus, for instance, winds are still out of the southeast. Now, temperatures are warmer than what they were 24 hours ago. Remember, we had that cool off yesterday of highs only in the upper 40s to low 50s. Well, temperatures now have climbed into the low 70s. We've made it to 73 degrees for a high temperature in Lincoln today so far. We may squeeze another degree out of that, although it does look like we are cooling off just a little bit. It's 72 in Aurora and 72 degrees in Grand Island. For this evening, if you have plans to go out, it's going to be a mild night. 64 degrees at 8, 10 o'clock, still nearly 60 degrees, and we're only dropping into the 50s by tomorrow morning. For us, or at least in Lincoln. You head back to the west out towards the Tri-Cities, a different story. Temperatures dropping into the upper 30s to low 40s. If you can't tell, there is a cold front that will begin to move through, and behind that front, temperatures start to drop. The winds are out of the north. Ahead of the front, winds remain out of the south, and that's why we're going to see a mild night tonight in Lincoln and places like down towards Beatrice. Now, there will be a chance for a few light showers as we go through the overnight hours, and even through tomorrow morning at daybreak. By 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, there could be some light rain around the area. I'm not expecting any heavy rain out of this at this point. By 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, some showers further north, but notice the skies begin to clear down to the south. And this is when temperatures are going to quickly jump into the low 70s by afternoon. Now, as that cold front continues to pass, because notice if you're out towards the Tri-Cities, temperatures are only in the 40s and holding steady, whereas at 71 degrees in Lincoln, 75 in Beatrice perhaps. At about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we may start to see a little line of some showers and maybe a few thunderstorms developing either over Lincoln and Beatrice or maybe 15, 20 miles east of there. And they will quickly race off to the east, and we will start to see our temperatures starting to drop back behind it. And you can see there's some instability in the atmosphere. Showing you this, we're talking a moderate level of instability coming our way for Saturday afternoon. So there is the potential for a few of these thunderstorms. But again, the instability quickly moves off to the east by late afternoon. Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk of severe weather, mainly for Iowa, where there will get some pretty strong thunderstorms from the things that develop over far eastern Iowa tomorrow, or make that over Nebraska tomorrow. I'm not expecting much in the way of severe weather around here for us. 73 for a high in Lincoln, 75 for a high in Beatrice, only into the 40s as you go further to the west. And as to how much rainfall we can expect, at this point, any is good. Now, I will say a 31 computer model average suggests right around 1,300 of an inch in Lincoln. This specific model of Stormcast suggesting 500 of an inch. Also back to the west, there are winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings where there's the potential for some snow tomorrow into tomorrow night, up to 2 inches up towards O'Neill, maybe just a dusting as you head further west of Grand Island, and maybe 3/4 of an inch out towards Broken Bow. 7-day forecast shows cooler temperatures Sunday, still watching for a chance for some snow coming Sunday night into early Monday morning, or it may just miss us again. And then cooler for Monday as we head towards next week, another chance for some snow coming our way by Thursday with some cooler temperatures, and then we start warming back up perhaps by next weekend in into the 60s.
All right, thank you so much, John. We now turn to a California woman accused of making up a story about being kidnapped.
She made national headlines back in 2016 when she seemingly vanished and then reappeared, and now police say it was all a hoax. ABC's Morgan Norwood has the story.
The California woman whose disappearance and reappearance set off a frantic 3-week search more than 5 years ago, now behind bars. SHERRI PAPINI arrested on charges that she allegedly lied to federal agents about being kidnapped and allegedly defrauded the state's Victim Compensation Board of $30,000. Just before Thanksgiving 2016, the young mother of 2 disappeared in Northern California. Her husband, Keith, frantically calling 911.
I just got home from work and my wife wasn't there, which is unusual.
A few weeks later, Papini was found by a truck driver who saw her on a freeway with injuries, chains, and bindings around her body. Papini claimed 2 Hispanic women abducted her at gunpoint, beat her, and threatened to sell her to a man while keeping her in a closet. But she claimed she managed to escape. But authorities now revealing in a criminal complaint that DNA evidence recovered from Papini's clothing she was wearing when she returned matched her ex-boyfriend's DNA. And that ex-boyfriend admitted to investigators that he helped Papini run away. Investigators add that he also said SHERRI PAPINI created the injuries while staying with him, including hitting herself to create bruises and burning herself on her arms.
I totally believed her. I thought she really did have PTSD, that she had been beaten and just mistreated completely. Our community really got behind her and the Papini family, and disappointment, disheartenment.
And while it's unclear if Papini has an attorney, her family releasing a statement to ABC News, writing, "We are confused by several aspects of the charges and hope to get clarification in the coming days." The Shasta County Sheriff releasing a statement saying it's a great day for law enforcement across America, adding that this investigation cost the county $150,000. If convicted, Papini faces up to 25 years in prison. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Los Angeles.
A negative end to the work week on Wall Street. The Dow falling 180 points. NASDAQ fell 224. Here are your numbers. You're watching Channel 8, Nebraska's trusted news source. Have you ever tried spending a full day unplugging from technology? Well, National Day of Unplugging runs from today to tomorrow.
Here's the idea. Unplug your smartphones and other screens and, well, maybe make some space for other things. Read a physical book or a newspaper. Maybe have a conversation uninterrupted by technology. What an idea, right? Go for a hike. Clean out your closets. It's up to you. It might feel strange to leave your phone at home, but you know what? Maybe give it a try. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take my cell phone right now and I'm going to throw it across this entire studio. No, better not.
You probably better not. I think they're kind of expensive.
We get news and information on this, especially if you download our app. All right.
Nice. But download it Sunday after the National Day of Unplugging. Right.
All right, let's get a final check of your Friday night forecast, John.
Yeah, you can tell we haven't had a lot of rain when I'm trying to track individual raindrops outside. I did get a report from just about a mile south of Beatrice along Highway 77. There is just enough raindrops to make their deck and porch wet. So there are a few showers out there. It's also mild. Temperatures sitting in the low 70s right now across Lancaster County. Look down to the south of Beatrice. Again, a lot of that radar, the radar showing the green. I think a lot of that's not reaching the ground, but again, some of it just to the south of Beatrice is doing so. It's going to be a mild night. Temperatures into the 60s through 11 o'clock.
I'd be very happy if I heard some thunder. Thanks, John. See you at 6.
With the Channel 8 Eyewitness News mobile app, you'll be the first to know. Get alerts about breaking news and weather, all in the palm of your hand.
At Comfort Made Mattress Factory, we build each mattress specifically for you right here in our locally owned store. We can even make his side different